Hello learners, hope you all are doing well. I, Swati Yadav, Assistant Professor from Noida Institute of Engineering and Technology. Today we will discuss about Pharmaceutical Jurisprudence Unit 2, which consists good manufacturing practices. Here we are going to discuss about the detailed study of Schedule M. As we have already did the discussion regarding good manufacturing practices in lecture 9. In lecture 10, we will discuss the rest part of good manufacturing practices schedule M. Good manufacturing practices for premises and materials, the general requirement, as we have also discussed in lecture number 9, the rest general requirements which is required while running the pharmaceutical industries according to good manufacturing practices for premises and materials. So, the equipment shall be located, designed and constructed, adapted and maintained to suit the operation to be carried out. The layout and design of equipment shall aim to minimize the risk of error. So, the equipments which we are setting in the pharmaceutical industries, we must think about that where we are setting the equipment. The equipment, if we are designing and if we are layouting in particular area, the main aim of layouting and designing is to minimize the risk of errors, to avoid the cross contamination from different equipments. There must be a proper distance between two operating equipments. Okay, permit effective cleaning and maintenance in order to avoid cross contamination, buildup of dust or dirt and any adverse effect on the quality of the products. Each equipment shall be provided with a logbook wherever necessary. The operators, those who are doing work on particular running equipment, there will be a logbook according to good manufacturing practices according to schedule M. The logbook shall be noted, shall be updated on daily basis, or you can say on hourly basis by the operator wherever necessary. Balances and other measuring equipment shall be calibrated and checked on a periodical basis in accordance with the standard operating procedures and record maintained. The part of the production equipment that come into contact with the product shall noted be reactive, additive or adsorptive to an extent that would affect the quality of the product. So, whatever the part we are using while installing the equipment, the particular equipment should be inert from our ingredients which we are using for manufacturing any kind of product. If the part of equipment come in contact with the product, shall not be reactive, shall not produce any kind of adverse reaction or adsorptive type of reaction to the extent that would affect the quality of the product. Documentation is also necessary, a part which is the part of quality assurance system, and as such shall be related to all aspect of good manufacturing practices. Whatever we are running, whatever we are doing in a pharmaceutical industry, the documentation shall be maintained in each and every section, because documentation is very essential part of quality assurance. And after, or you can say while inspection, the documentation is at most important. Documentation is only at that moment going to be checked by inspector first. Its aim is to define the specifications for all material, methods of manufacture and control, to ensure that all personnel concerned with the manufacture know the information necessary to decide whether or not to release a batch of drug for sale, and to provide an audit trail that shall permit investigation of history of any suspected defective batch. So, those who are involved while running the manufacturing, while making the product, the all personnel, the all operator must be aware and having a proper knowledge regarding the particular product also. Document shall be approved, signed and dated by appropriate and authorized persons. Record and associated standard operating procedure shall be retained for at least 1 year after the expiry date of finished product. Whatever the product we are manufacturing in the company, when the particular product will go for the market, so after the 1 year of expiry date of particular product, the record should be retained. Okay, the electronic data and record should be accurately checked and shall have restricted access. The label shall carry all the prescribed detail about the production in bright and legible manner, in highlighted manner, so that anyone can easily identify and use the particular product. The label, as we all know, ki if any product having no label, so we can say the particular product is unauthorized. The particular product cannot be go for market. All container and equipment must be labeled. Different coded label shall be used. Different highlighted coded label shall be used to indicate the status of the product, ki which products are under test, which are in approved condition, which products are passed and will be go for marketing, and which products are rejected and have returned from market. So each, you can say ki each product status should be differentiated by using the color coded labels. Unused coded and, you can say, a damaged label and packaging material shall be destroyed and recorded, so that you can say so that misconception should not created. That is why label and other printed material are also the general requirement of good manufacturing practices. The pharmaceutical products are designed and developed in a way that takes amount of requirement of good manufacturing practices, good laboratory practices and good clinical practices. Okay. So, as we all know, ki industry should be designed and should be constructed that these three things should be accounted and developed. Okay. The adequate arrangements are made for manufacture, supply and use of the correct starting and packaging materials. So, this is the general requirement of quality assurance. Adequate control on starting materials, intermediate products and calibration and validation must be carried out. So, all the equipments, or you can say all the formulation or apparatus must be calibrated and validated. The finished product is correctly processed and checked in accordance with the established procedure and accordance with the pharmacopoeial specification, and released for sale and supply after due procedures. Quality control, as we have also discussed in previous lecture about the quality control designing. As we all know, quality control is very important section in pharmaceutical industries, where the identification, testing of impurities and some another tested were running there only. The qualified personnel should be involved and experienced staff under the direct supervision of competent technical staff should be involved for testing the drugs, or you can say samples. Quality control shall be concerned with the sampling, specification testing, documentation and release procedures, which ensures that the necessary and tests are actually carried out and the material are not released for sale and supply until their quality has been judged to be satisfactory. Okay. So, quality control department having whole sole responsibility for specification test, for sampling, for documentation, and after you can say ki when the quality control department will be satisfied, then and only then the particular product can be released for sale or supply. Okay. SOP, you can say SOP means standard operating procedures shall be available for sampling, inspection and testing of raw materials, intermediates, bulk finished products and packaging materials. So, such kind of materials, you can say raw material, intermediate product, bulk finished products and packaging materials, these all required a standard operating procedure. Standard operating procedure. Reference, or you can say retained sample from each batch of the product manufacture shall be maintained in quantity. You can say the products which are the products which are manufacturing in the company, their quantity must be double, because the particular products are gone for so many tests, or you can say so many reference and retained samples, they are used as reference and retained samples for future. Or except for those who are you can say ki sterility and pyrogen bacterial endotoxins. Okay, the retained product shall be kept in its final pack of period of 3 months after the date of expiry. Each specification for raw material, intermediate, final product and packaging material shall be approved and maintained by quality control department. Periodic revision of the specification shall be carried out only and only by the personnel of quality control department. So, apart from quality control, the master formula record is also the general requirement for running the premises and for good manufacturing practices for the material. Master formula record consists the, you can say, a formula for the manufacturing of product. It is the standard manufacturing procedure for each product and batch size to be manufactured, which shall be prepared and endorsed by the competent technical staff. So, MFR is prepared by the, you can say, a production head for the batch size which have to be manufactured in company. The master formula record consists so many things, you can say. Number 1, as we all know ki here we are talking about master formula record. Master formula record means ki formulation procedure for each batch. Okay, formulation procedure. So, as but obviously the, you can say ki it will consist the name of the product together with the product reference code, the patent or proprietary name of the product along with generic name, and also the description of dosage form ki which kind of dose we are going to prepare. Either we are going to prepare syrup, either we are going to prepare tablet or capsules as well as along with description, strength, composition of product and batch sizes should also be disclosed there, and name, quantity and reference number of starting material should also be mentioned there. Whatever the material are going to be used, a statement of expected final yield with acceptable limit should also be mentioned over there. A statement of processing location and principal equipment to be used should also be included in MFR. The method to be used for preparing the critical equipment should be also mentioned in the manufacturing record and master formula record, and the detailed stepwise processing instruction and the time taken for each step should also be explained over here in master formula record. also the instructions for in-process control with their limit should also be mentioned. Whatever the requirements for storage condition for the particular product for which we are talking in master formula record include the container, labeling and special storage conditions where applicable. These all requirement should be mentioned in master formula record. Packing detail and specimen labels should also included in master formula record. Next requirement of good manufacturing practices, Schedule M, is packaging records. Authorized packaging instructions are there according to Drug and Cosmetic Act. For each product, pack size and type shall include. Okay, the packaging record shall include the name of the product, description of the dosage form, strength, composition and pack size. Whatever the particular dosage form is going to be packed, the description should be mentioned, the strength and the composition and pack size should also be mentioned on the packaging record. Complete list of all packaging material required for standard batch size, a specimen of the relevant printed packaging materials, detail of the equipment used and in-process control with the instructions for sampling and acceptance. These all things should be included in packaging record. A batch packaging record shall be kept for each batch or part batch processed. Batch processing record for each product shall be based on the relevant part of currently approved master formula. During processing, the following information shall be recorded. Okay, so here we are discussing about batch processing record. As we had discussion about master formula record, packaging record, these are all the requirement of good manufacturing practices of Schedule M. Okay. So, batch processing record of each product shall be based on the relevant part of currently running master formula. Whatever the formula is running for each batch, the particular things will be recorded batch wise. The particular record is known as batch processing record. During processing, the following information shall be recorded at time each action is taken, and record shall be dated and signed by the personnel, those who are responsible for processing operations. The batch processing record include the name and the batch of the product, date and time of commencement of significant intermediate stages and of completion of product, initial of the operator of different significant step of production, and where appropriate of person who checked each of these operations. Batch number and or analytical control number as well as quantity of each starting material actually weighed should also be included in batch processing record. Any relevant processing operation or event and major equipment used should also be mentioned over there in batch processing record. A record of in the process control and the initial of the persons carrying them out and the results obtained. The yield of product after different and critical stages of manufacture should also be mentioned in batch processing record. So, be careful, the batch processing record is maintained only and only for the current running master formula. The next is our standard operating procedure, that is SOPs. So, these all are the requirements which are the part of quality assurance also. There shall be written SOPs and records for the receipt of each delivery of raw, primary and printed packaging materials. The internal labeling, quarantine and storage of starting material, packaging material and other material, each equipment and instruments those who are involved while manufacturing batch numbering, sampling, testing and record of analysis with reference sample should be also mentioned there. Medical devices, or you can say medical services, not medical devices. Medical services are also the requirement of good manufacturing practices. The manufacturer shall provide adequate facilities of first aid, medical inspection of workers at time of employment and periodic checkup thereafter at least once a year. Facilities for vaccination and inoculation against the enteric or any other epidemic group of diseases. So, medical services is also, you can say, a basic requirement of factory for good manufacturing practices. Adequate precaution for safeguarding and the head of the workers include measures to avoid industrial accidents or disease. Working benches is also the basic requirement, or you can say general requirement of good manufacturing practices. Working benches shall be provided for carrying out operations such as filling, labeling and packing of the material. Such benches shall be adequate arrangements separated from the manufacturing operations for washing, cleaning and drying the containers with suitable equipment for the purpose be provided, and the sterilizing facilities where necessary should be provided there. Okay. So, this is the rest of the portion which we had discussed in chapter, you can say in chapter 10. The initial portion we have discussed in chapter 9 of good manufacturing practices. So, let us summarize what are the rest of the requirements needed while running the manufacturing unit, and what are the requirement of good manufacturing practices. That means the equipment should be located or equipment should be constructed in such a manner that it should avoid or it should minimize the risk of errors, or it should avoid cross contamination, or the equipment should be placed in such a manner that there should be a proper distance between two running equipments to avoid the cross contamination. So, this is the requirement of good manufacturing practices. Apart from equipment, documentation and records are also important. Documentation is essential part of quality assurance. Whatever the operation is going on in manufacturing industries, you can say water system, RO system, or you can say ki according to equipment, whatever the equipments are running, there must be a proper documentation and proper record, and all should be followed by, and all should be run according to proper SOP, that is a standard operating procedure. So, these all parameters, these all aspects and approaches are included in quality assurance. The main aim of documentation and record is to define the specifications of all materials, methods of manufacture and control, and also to ensure that all personnel, those who are involved in manufacturing, should be aware about the material, the drugs, and you can say should be aware about the investigation of the history of any suspected defective batches. Documentation and records are also important. Apart from documentation, label and other printed materials are also recorded. As I told you, to differentiate the status of product, the product which those who are in under test, the product those who are approved and those who are passed, and some product those who are rejected, must be differentiated from color code, highlighted code labels. All container and equipment, as we all knows, key must be labeled according to quality assurance, or you can say according to pharmacopoeial specification. Those who are not labeled, here we are talking about the pharmaceutical products. The products those who are not labeled, they are not eligible to sale and use. The pharmaceutical products are designed and developed in a way that take account of requirement of GMP, GLP and GCP, and the proper arrangement should be maintained for manufacturing, supply and use of correct starting and packaging material. Apart from, you can say, documentation and record, then labeling and printed material, quality assurance is also important. Along with quality assurance, quality control is very most important, and the particular laboratory is used and is run by qualified and competent technical staffs for testing the samples, for testing the specifications and for identifying the drugs. Okay. The proper documentation should be maintained by quality control laboratory peoples, and when they will assure and when they will ensure that the particular test is running is satisfactory, then only the product will be released for sale and supply. SOP shall be available for sampling, inspection of and testing of raw materials, intermediates, bulk finished product and packaging materials. MFR, that is master formula record, is also important, as well as packaging record is also important. So, you can say ki the master formula which is currently approved should batch processing record shall be based on the particular currently approved master formula record. Apart from batch processing record, standard operating procedures shall be written and shall be recorded. Sampling, batch numbering, testing and record of analysis, reference samples, the internal labeling, quarantine and storage of starting material, packaging and other material, each equipment and instruments, these all require a proper standard operating procedure. Apart from SOPs, medical services should also be provided for the personnels and operators, those who are involved and those who are working in manufacturing company. Working benches shall be provided for carrying out some another operations. Thank you so much. Here we have used the reference of Forensic Pharmacy B. Suresh and textbook of Forensic Pharmacy B. M. Mittal. Thank you so much.